how the very first Olympic was born in Greece. With this year's Olympic Games in Tokyo, the hype for the events has never been higher. And although to us the Olympics feel like a common everyday fact of life, it's easy to forget that they, like all things, had a starting date. According to almost every source out there, the Olympic Games were started in 1896, with the first ever Olympic event held in Athens, Greece. Now, since you've already read the video title, you might think, well, that settles it. The first event was in Greece, so obviously the first Olympic was Greek, right? Well, not quite. See, as it turns out, the Olympics have had a much older and more complex history than the 125 years we already count. And despite the event being held in Athens, the games like the ones today were international. So not one of the athletes can be declared the first Olympic. So then what's the answer? Well, to find out, we need to see a story of wars, gods, bakers, and the legendary mythical hero Hercules himself. So stay tuned in order to find out. But before we get into all that, like these kind of videos? If yes, then please feel free to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you get all the new content delivered right to your phone. With that done, let's jump in. To start, let's look at the name, Olympic. As you can tell, it's a demonym, like American or British for Olympus. What's Olympus, you may ask? Well, the mythology buffs among you will know it as the mountain where none other than the ancient gods live. It's a surprisingly unknown fact that Mount Olympus is actually a real place in Greece. But regardless, the stories of Zeus, Poseidon, Athena, and Apollo, among others, all start and end at Olympus. It's no secret that the other demonym, Olympian, refers not to the athletes, but the actual gods. And how do these relate to the Olympic Games of today? Well, like all major events in the ancient world, the original Olympic Games were also an event meant to celebrate the Greek gods. And not just any gods, but the father of the entire Greek pantheon, and the Lord of the skies himself they honored, Zeus. But wait, some of you might say, what on earth are the original Olympic Games? Well, my friends, as it turns out, the modern Olympics were actually a replication and continuation of an ancient event that took place in ancient Greece, thousands upon thousands of years ago. Every 4 years, men from all over the country would gather together in the holy site, Olympia, otherwise a temple and religious settlement, and took part in many games of strength and endurance. From the stadium races, which are the origin of the word stadium, to chariot racing, javelin throwing, and wrestling, among many others. These games were a big deal for the Greeks, with them being a way to politically assert dominance to competing city-states, a way to meet other state leaders and have a ton of fun, because like all other Greek events, these had a ton of wine and a ton of meat. The origin story of the event was, at the time, explained through myth, where according to legend, Hercules, a dactyl, which were basically the original plan for humans until they were perfected, not to be confused by the much more famous Hercules of later myths, raced against his 4 brothers to entertain a young Zeus. This was what supposedly started the tradition of the 4 yearly games, the tradition of honoring Zeus, and the race as the main event. Now that's the story, but what actually happened is a little bit different. According to almost all experts on the games, the first Olympic Games, which originally were just regular sporting events held at Olympia, were merely races. And the first of these races recognized as Olympic was the one held in 776 BCE, nearly 3 millennia ago. And the one who won that race, the so-called original Olympic, was a baker from the nearby town of Elis named Coroebus, who won the stadia race and took home the prize, which was nothing but a wreath made of olive branches. And so the first Olympic was not a modern athlete, not a mythical hero or superhuman being, but a baker from a small town, which started the tradition that is celebrated even today. And that, guys, is the story of the first Olympic. Hope you guys enjoyed watching it. If you did, be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe to support the channel. With that out of the way, let's wrap up and I'll catch you next time.